All right, it's Matt Mrozek. This will be work in progress number 8 on the Mad X Hulk. So, finished Hulk last night at 2 a.m. He looks amazing. Sonu likes him, so I'm glad he likes him. The next challenge is the base. So, Sonu doesn't like this base. He thinks it looks like an oatmeal cookie. And I kind of have to agree with him. I'm not sure what they were going for here with all these cracks. Maybe a desert, kind of cracked, sandy desert scape. What's throwing it off is that all these cracks are identical in size. It doesn't really look like anything. So what we're going to do is we're going to transform this into concrete. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to first have to go through and break off all these little things that are sticking up, because we don't want that. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to have to strip off the primer, get this down to bare resin. Once I do that, I'm going to have to frost this like a cake, and I'm going to use Bondo body filler to do that. So once I get all these little things broken off, I get the primer stripped, then I'm going to go through and I'm going to start laying in Bondo. I'm going to leave I'm going to leave this crack here in the middle because that makes sense, and these two right here. And actually, like, there's a crack. Some of these cracks make sense. Like all these right here around the feet make sense. All these little ones, I don't get that. So the goal is to turn this into concrete, look like he's stepping on concrete, and the concrete is cracking. So I basically need to smooth this out first, and then once the Bondo's on there and I'm happy with that, I'll go through and I'll draw like where I want cracks, and I'll go in with the Dremel tool or something, and I'll kind of carve those out and work that way. I have a couple of reference photos I'll use in order to get that effect, but for now we're just going to start basically tearing this thing up. So I need some pliers and some wire nips. So, oh, it's nerve-wracking when you take a piece that's this expensive and you start kind of mutilating it, but it's okay. I've been told I can do so. So yeah, I'm just going to go in here and take off all these little raised pieces first, because these don't make sense in what we're going to be doing. And get them off as best as I can. I really don't want it to go through and like Dremel these, because it'd be really messy. But I might. This may not want to come off. I think it's solid resin. Ooh, that's tough. Let's see, what else am I going to use? I'm going to use these guys. Little bolt cutters. As hard as I can get down real low to the surface is what I want to do. Okay, there we go. So yeah, I'll be tearing this thing up. I'm hoping I can get this done in a day and a half. That's my goal. If I can get this kind of smoothed out today, what's going to take the longest is going to be like the frosting part, because not only do I want to smooth the front of it, or the top of it, we want to make it look like the concrete is sitting on a layer of dirt. Then actually, a layer of dirt. And actually the edge of this looks really good as far as like what dirt would look like. So I need to put kind of a, I don't know, like a band around this with the filler to represent the concrete. I'm going to probably have it overhang just a little bit, and then go from there. And then there's a couple techniques you can use to get a concrete look. You can do it through paint. More likely what I'll do is once I get the Bondo on there and I get the cracks the way I want, I'll go and I'll stipple on some primer, and it'll give that just a little bit of texture, because concrete's not perfectly smooth. It's got texture to it. So once I get it smoothed out, we'll add a little bit of texture to it to give it some dimension, and also it'll take the paints and washes better that I'll be applying to emulate concrete. There we go. I may have to take this outside and hit some of these with the Dremel, just because they're not solid, so it's hard to. Don't want to do it inside for sure. It'd be really messy. And then another thing I have to do is once I take care of the cracks, that's kind of the first step. That's the first major goal, is kind of fill this in, get rid of all these little cracks. Then what I need to do is put another layer of filler, and while it's wet, put Hulk in that. Obviously, I'll wrap his feet in plastic so the Bondo doesn't get on my awesome paint job I spent so much time doing, but I want to get his foot imprints into the concrete. So yeah. So I'll just put this on time lapse again because this might take a while. Okay, it's amazing what happens when you have the right tools. I was trying to use my first Dremel, my little micro Dremel, and it kept overheating and stopping after about 5 seconds of grinding and cutting, so I went and bought something I should have gotten a long time ago, which is a Dremel work stand, a high-speed corded Dremel, and the flex shaft. So thanks to my aunt and Christmas money, I was able to pay for my booth and that Dremel, which is kind of cool. Okay, so I've got this all the high spots knocked down. I grounded those down. Actually, I see one more right here, so I'm gonna hit that real quick. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put some silly putty in these cracks that I want to preserve, and then I'll start hitting this with the Bondo. So I'm gonna grind this one spot that I see right here. Basically, I'm just trying to get all the really high spots out that when I start to kind of frost this, that's gonna stick out too much. So I see one right here that I'm gonna take care of real quick. Okay, so now I'm going to get some silly putty, and I'm just going to put some in those cracks that I want to preserve. I'm not sure if Bondo sticks to silly putty or not. Never tried it. I don't think it will. Bondo doesn't stick very good to anything that's like silicone based. And by the way, I found a big old piece of silicone in the base as I was cutting and grinding. So again, anytime you start to see silicone in a casting, that means that casting is getting towards the end of the molds because the silicone is breaking down and it's getting left in the silicone of the mold is getting pulled out of the mold from being casted. As you pull that piece out, the silicone sticks to the casting. All right, so also, anyone who's watching this and who's interested in having a Mad X Hulk painted by me, I mentioned that my going quote for the Hulk is 1,000. That does not include modifying the base. If you want the base modified like this, you're going to tack on another 250 or so. It may seem like a lot, but it's a very time-consuming process, as you can see, labor-intensive. So, yeah. So the $1,000 does not include changing the base into concrete. Again, I'm hoping if I can get this, like the Bondo part done today, that's ideal, and then tomorrow I can paint. We'll see. Like I said, at first I thought this was going to take me a really long time to grind down until I got the right tool, and then it went relatively quick. It was going to take me all day if I tried to keep using the tool I had. So this putty doesn't need to go all the way down in the crack, it just needs to go really to the surface. Kind of like this. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just don't want Bondo to get down in there, because if it doesn't, I'll never be able, I could get it out, just be a pain in the ass. I'm just kind of roughly putting it in there. And again, I'll put this on time lapse. Okay, so we got the cracks filled in with silly putty that I want to preserve. Now we're going to get out the Bondo. I'll put it in my paint room because I got that big jug. 1 second. Big gallon thing of Bondo. I'm going to try something I like real quick. just had a brain fart. I've got good lighting on my worktop, but like my general room lighting is poo-poo. I'm gonna try just doing this. Maybe that'll work. It's not real bright, but now it's like an even light. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get Bondo, lots of new spreaders. We're gonna use this guy, kind of like the smallest one that came in this kit. And I need a piece of cardboard. Okay. So this is going to take. This will definitely take more than one application. What I'll do is I'll probably work on an area, kind of get that filled, and then because I'll have to take this outside several occasions and sand it down with like a disc sander. So the first thing I want to do is basically just smooth this out. I want to pretty much get rid of all these cracks and stuff, and then I'll worry about like his foot imprint. So first step is I'm going to kind of work on just getting the cracks out. So scrap cardboard is perfect for mixing Bondo because you can throw it away when you're done. So, like I mentioned earlier, you can buy a Bondo board, but I always keep the little scraps too for like epoxy work and stuff. Let me just have a screwdriver. There we go. Where's that screwdriver? There it is. Okay. Bondo. I'm gonna get my taller chair. This really comfy chair is broken, and every time I try to raise it, it falls apart. I need to fix it, so I got to use this really kind of uncomfortable chair to get higher, but it'll work. All right, just get everything else out of the way. All right, so here's my body filler. Get a decent amount. I don't try not to mix up too much at one time because a lot of times you'll have extra and you're just wasting material. So we'll start with that. Put the can on, the lid on the can so we don't. I like the smell of Bondo personally. My family probably not so much. And now we're getting some hardener. And for this amount, we're gonna put about that much on there. About a 2-inch ribbon, kind of like that. And just like we did when I was doing the leg, just mix it up, holding it in. This prevents air bubbles. The nice thing about an actual Bondo board, it's got a nice hard edge to scrape your spreader off as you mix to get that kind of unmixed portion off your spreader, but it's about the only advantage. I used to have all those tools until I stopped painting cars for a living. Used to have a really nice spray gun, high-end auto spray gun, like a $500 gun. I sold it because I wasn't using it. Okay. So now we're basically going to play baker. We're going to take a little bit and we're just going to start spraying this on. You need to work relatively quick because once the Bondo starts to gum up, you're pretty much out of time to spread it. I'm putting some pretty good pressure down so I get in all those cracks. And this is still great because this is actually the bare resin. I had washed this previously, so I thought that was primer on the base, but it's not. It's the bare resin. So no need to strip it. And I'm just going to go over all that silly putty, and as I sand with the disc sander, Freudian slip. I can't say it. I slipped. I meant to say disc with an S. The S did not quite come out. So since this is still workable, I'm gonna really kind of take my time to get this on here good. The more time you can spend applying the body filler and getting it as smooth as possible, the less time you spend sanding. Even though there's going to be quite a bit of sanding on this piece anyway. And also I can feather this a little bit, so I can go ahead and add another application without having to sand this first one. So my only concern right now is to fill in all these cracks that are already present. That's all I'm trying to do. Basically need to start from scratch with a blank canvas. Oops. In case you don't know, paint thinner will clean up Bondo too. I just took a dryer rag here. But just some lacquer thinner on a rag will clean your hands off. Okay. So it's actually a pretty thin layer right there. Ideally, I will not add a lot of weight to this thing because Bondo is heavy. It's as heavy as dried resin, so ideally we won't add a ton of weight to this base. It's heavy as is. Alright, so I'm going to mix up another batch about the same size. And also, I went to a place here in town called English Color. It's an automotive tool paint supply company that I've been going to for like 25 years. And I went in there because I wanted to get a gallon of body filler, and you can get cheaper filler than Bondo. This 1 gallon was, I think, like $13. It was really inexpensive. I'm not, painting Ferraris, so I don't need a super high quality glaze. And I also picked up some automotive lacquer primer. It's what I used to use when I painted cars because I can get that. I'm constantly changing my primers, but for like a big kit where I want a good base coat, that automotive lacquer primer is a good. It's a good primer if you need to like do any filling. So Stano Res right now is my go-to primer, but on a big project where I need to do quite a bit of filling and sanding later, I'll use that automotive primer. A quart of it was like $14, and you just thin it with lacquer thinner. So I just bought a quart. I didn't get a gallon because, quite honestly, I don't know if I just bought it kind of as a test to see if I'll use it. Okay, I'm just playing Baker here, trying to not get too much over the edges of the base. I really don't want to get this area yet. Still debating on how I want to handle that. I need to look at my reference photo as far as what that edge looks like. I think if it's kind of smooth, if I remember correctly, what I may do is instead of filling it with body filler, I may just go and kind of grind it down, maybe an inch or half an inch, to kind of smooth it out instead of filling it. I think grinding it down would be quicker and cleaner than trying to fill it, because there's a lot of little kind of indentations around the base that would be hard to get in with body filler. Not to get the body filler in, but to sand it later. Got a blue cake. No, I missed here's a thing right here I should have ground down when I was grinding. There's little rocks down. I'm sorry, I'll get it with the disc sander. When I do it, I'll just take a little longer to sand that spot. So once I get this kind of like the cracks out and get this pretty much where I want it, then I'll wrap the Hulk's feet in some saran wrap, like a double, triple layer, and then I'll put a fresh coat of filler on here, and I'll place him in it and let it dry while he sits there. And I'll get his feet imprints on the surface. So that first layer is starting to kick off. So I'm just going to keep applying this first application. That's why I only mixed up about that much at a time, because if I had mixed up that whole batch at once, I'd still be spreading over here and it'd be kicking off already, and I'd have to throw a bunch of it away. More out. Frosting. Yeah, we'll make about the same amount. It seems like a good working amount. Up there. So last night's video, I'm having every once in a while I'll get an error, and it means there's a messed up frame in the film or the video. And so I've tried 3 times to upload and I keep getting errors. So I have to go into the video, find those frames that are messed up, and take them out. So I still have not uploaded last night's video, which is 2.5 hours long, because it keeps getting errors. So until I get all those errors out, I can't upload it, which kind of sucks, but we'll get there eventually. Make sure you have an old towel around or something that you're doing this on top of, because you'll get filler everywhere. I want to get myself a work apron. I don't have one. This application here is a little more gray. I didn't put quite as much hardener in it, so it's going to take a little bit longer to kick off and dry. You really want to let body filler dry, 15, 20 minutes, because otherwise it'll just gum up your sandpaper super, super quick. You want it to be hard. It does, if it is hotter out, it will dry faster. The more hardener you put in, it will dry faster. But you have to be careful, because sometimes you'll put so much in that it'll dry while you're mixing it, and then you have to throw that batch out. I used to tell people I could build a car out of Bondo. I used to use it all the time. Oops. Almost done with this first application. We'll let it dry, and then I'll take it out, sand it outside, and sand it. And I won't videotape that. Just using a disc sander to smooth it down, and I don't know. It's just more sanding. A lot of video coverage of me sanding. That's what model building is, like 90% sanding. Doesn't matter what kind of model you're doing. The model building is basically really prep work for a paint job. That's really what it is. You're prepping whatever it is you're going to paint for paint work. That's the model building part. That whole process is and ends to get to a point where you're ready to paint something. So when guys complain, oh, that's got a lot of prep work, or that's got a lot of seams, or that's got a lot of this, or, you know, there are some kits I've gotten where I think were just complete trash. But for the most part, you know, that's what you're doing, is you're building models. And, you know, it's part of the process. Is fixing those errors and knowing how to do it and how to take care of it and learning how to fix those kits that aren't so perfect, like the Punisher versus Walking Dead. It's actually a really nice kit. It was just produced poorly. So a big one on that particular project was, well, how do I take care of all the flaws in the kit and still make it look nice? All right. This is looking pretty good. It's pretty smooth overall. And there's actually a pretty thin layer of filler on this thing. It's not a whole lot, because I can see the original base through this. Okay. I think I'm gonna let this dry. I got a little bit over here. I'm not gonna mix any more filler for this spot. I'll get this on the next application, because it will definitely take at least one more, if not two more, applications like this. This first one is just kind of an initial filling coat. The next one we'll refine it more, and the last one hopefully will get it all the way we want it. So I'm going to pause, and then we'll sand some more. Okay, so we're outside on my driveway. Got my palm sander with some 60 grit sandpaper on it, and we're going to sand this down. So it's going to be loud. Let's put on time lapse. Okay, as you see, that was a very, very messy process. But we're really smooth. I need to go through now and just pick out the silly putty. And I got to get in this little area with the Dremel. I couldn't get in it with the sander. So now I'm going to go through and just get this silly putty out. I don't think I need to put more Bondo on except for where his feet are going to go. There's a couple techniques for creating cracked concrete. And I'm going to actually research those a little bit before I do the next step to kind of see what works the best for what I'm doing. One way is the way initially I had mentioned. I was, basically Bondo the whole thing, draw out cracks and carve the cracks. Another one is using like plot plate and making little pieces of concrete stick up. I don't know. I need to look at what the picture that Sony gave me too as far as reference goes. But my initial thought right now is basically do another thin coat of Bondo, put his feet into it, and just sand it by hand so I don't get it like perfectly smooth. Yeah, so I need to look at other methods. So I'm going to pick the putty out and then do the next step. Okay, so actually I don't want to take all the putty out yet because I need to put his feet imprints in here. So, and I don't want to take this putty out before I do that because I want those cracks to remain there. So I'll do right now is I'll go ahead and get this little spot down here sanded, and I was correct in thinking that Bondo does not stick to silly putty. It comes right off. Silly putty comes right off, the Bondo doesn't adhere to it. So I'm just going to hit this area with the Dremel and then go from there. Okay, after talking to Sony for a second, we're both on the same page, and some of the work I previously did was a little bit unnecessary because what I'm going to do is we both feel that these imprints are too deep. My whole hand fits in here, and we want to raise them up a little bit. So basically what I need to do is take all this putty out, and I need to fill these in quite a bit. So I could have done that in that first step if we kind of... my initial plan was I was going to keep them at the same depth on this base, but we both like the premium format Hulk base, so I'm using that as a reference. And in that base, he's on top of the surface. Against this being concrete, this wouldn't be that deep of a pit, I guess you'd call it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue to take this putty out, and I'm going to build this up pretty good. Again with the body filter. I'll have to go back outside and sand again, but it's no big deal. But it would have saved me a step of doing what I just did, was filling and sanding. But that's part of the process, is learning what you want to accomplish and how to get there. So after seeing this, after I got all those cracks out, it's like, man, that looks really, really deep. And I don't think it would look very good. So we're gonna take the putty out, fill these in quite a bit, and then I'll make new foot imprints, and then I'll engrave cracks from there. So I'll come back when I'm ready to start filling in. This is what I'm doing. I just made up a big batch of filler, and I'm basically going to fill these in quite a bit. Probably not all the way to the top, but pretty close. So that first step I did with all the sanding and stuff would have saved me some time, but again, you don't know until you start doing something if it's going to work or not. So, but, whatever. I lost a couple hours, but not the end of the world. I'm going to keep that crack in the middle. Get the big spreader out now since I'm trying to get a big area covered. So I was going to keep that crack in the middle. I just got Bondo in it. Let's not do that. Basically, as long as we're both, me and Son, are on the same page, as long as he looks like he's putting weight on the surface, And there's some cracks around his feet. That's the look we're going for. Okay. So there's one application. This will need a second one. I need to get that filler out of the crack that I want to preserve. There it is. Just need to get that out of there. So I'll have another round or two of sanding outside, which is no big deal. So basically we're going to do that. So I'm going to bring these up quite a bit, almost level with the rest of the base, I think. All right, so I'm going to let that dry, then come back. I'm going to let this dry, do the other one, and I'll do another layer and come back. All right, so I got one layer on both sides. I'm going to do another layer. You can put Bondo on top of Bondo without sanding it, no problem. They'll stick to itself. So I'm going to do that, and then from there I'll see if I need to do another layer before I actually put Hulk down to get his foot imprint. So I'll just show you that. Okay, so I added 3 more layers of filler, and I got them to the level I want. They're not quite level, but they're just about level right now. So once this dries, it's going to take a while because it's actually getting pretty hot. It's about an inch thick in the middle. I'm going to go back outside. I'm going to hit it with the disc sander again with some 60 grit sandpaper just to kind of level it out, get all the spreader marks out of it. Really, that's all I'm going to do. And then I'll bring it back in here. I'll put a thin layer, and I'll put Hulk on top, and that will get his foot position. And after that, then I'll be able to kind of scratch some scratches into the surface and stuff. So once it's dry, I'll sand it, and I'll come back. Okay, so another round of sanding with 60 grit, and these aren't perfectly level. They're just filled in quite a bit. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to get Hulk out, and I'm going to wrap his feet in some saran wrap. And we're going to put another thin layer down and place him in it. So I need to get him completely ready before I do that, so that when I spread the filler on there, I can place him in where he needs to go. So get some gloves on. Get this here. What I got to do is make sure I don't touch him with filler on my hand. That would be bad. There's some saran wrap. And I want to make sure I know which the front is because I can't tell now that I've taken them off the base. Okay, this is the front right here. I believe so. Let me double check. What's up, everyone? It's Matt Rosing. This will be work in progress number 7. I have to look at a picture. Where is it? I need to find a picture of the base with him on it. Just to make sure I know where the front is. Okay, yeah. This is the back. This is the front. Okay. So, oh man, he is freaking heavy. Okay, so he's going to hang out over here to the side so I don't mess him up. And he's going to go right there. And now he's taller. He's going to be like, this whole thing's going to be like another inch and a half taller because we raised him up on the base. So, I need to get him over here. I wish there's nothing on my pants, otherwise. Hold on 1 second. make sure he's like 100% protected from anything. So I'm just over here. I don't know if you can see me. I want the table here. I'm going to wrap his feet up really good, saran wrap. Again, this doesn't have to be pretty, just has to protect them. And if there's a few wrinkles on the bottom, it's okay. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to worry about it. About being it perfectly smooth. Okay, so I don't see that, but so this one is nicely protected all the way around. That one's good. Let's do the other one. Sonia keeps asking me about the video from last night. He's asking me if it's ready. To me, I was having issues with it. I don't know where it is. Sometimes I get coding errors, and it won't upload the movie. So then what they do is I have to export it out to QuickTime, and then when it reaches that coding error in QuickTime, it fails. But then I know where in the video it fails. Otherwise, I have to go frame by frame and try to find where it's messed up. And there's usually like six to a dozen frames, and it's just frames, it's not even like seconds, where there's a blip or something in the coding and it didn't write or something. I don't know. I'm not a video guy, so not sure exactly what's happening, but it's been happening. And of course, the longer the video, the more chances of an error happening. I'm going to put 2 layers on. So double safe. So nice about handling him now that he's done. I still have to paint the bottom of the feet black. I'll do this at the very end. I'm just going to do him black since we don't see him. So he said that's cool. Alright. Alright, so his feet are protected, so I'm going to put him to the side for now. I need to weigh him. He's got to weigh 40, 50 pounds. Alright. Now my work area is starting to get that disastrous mode where there's stuff everywhere. And then, again, full production mode, and it's just messy in this mode. Okay. Word to the wise, Bondo stinks. My whole house smells like Bondo now. I didn't notice it, but my wife did. I didn't notice it until I was outside and came back in. So, got my window open here and trying to vent it out a little bit. So I have to make sure that after I mix this up, I change my gloves before I pick him up. So I don't get any filler Bondo on him. So, how's my battery doing? I don't know if I push the button, it'll stop recording. All shouldn't need that much this time. And for the edge of the base, what I'm going to do is I'm not going to get all this putty work done tonight, unfortunately, because it's dark out and I don't have any lights outside. So I need to do all the sanding outside because it's so messy. The edge, I'm just going to basically grind the first, quarter inch or so. Not flat, but I'm going to take down some of this texture so it looks like there's a different layer on top. So, yeah, but I'll mix up more than I need as far as Bondo goes. I say I don't need that much, but now I'm kind of thinking of what I need to do. So I just have more than I need. Actually, I would have been smart. I've been wearing gloves the whole time. I don't have Bondo on my fingers right now. But you know what? I'm Polish, and I don't think about stuff like that all the time. Just need a bigger piece of cardboard. It's just not the right size for this amount of filler. What I'm going to do, I usually don't do this. I'm just going to mix it right on the surface here. I don't advise this, but I'm kind of stuck in a place now where I don't have room to, but I don't advise mixing Bondo directly on the surface here, putting it on, because if it's not mixed thoroughly, you'll have adhesion problems, and well, it just won't dry. So just mix that right up here on the. Yeah, I got to change gloves before I touch him, for sure. Let's get some Bondo sludge. So I'll mix this up on here. Oh, and if you ask me again, we're not going to go, okay? I told you we'll go when I'm ready. I need about 10-15 minutes. Okay? Please don't ask again. I'm happy to take you, but if you keep bugging me about it, I'm not going to go. My son wants to go to a trampoline park, and I told him I'd take him at 7. And he's been asking me every 5 minutes, is it time yet? Is it time yet? Is it time yet? I'm like, no, dude. Okay. Like I said, I don't recommend doing this, but I was kind of already started the process. And I needed to get this mixed. Okay. So I'm going to take a good portion of this and bring it over here. Now I got to work fast because I need to get this smoothed out and him on it before it dries. So I'm going to do this. Let me get the bigger spreader. This guy here. Like that. Now that it's fairly level, it's easy to even out. See, like that, that's pretty good right there. This side's a little more difficult because it's got what's what I'm showing him doing. It's got Bondo all over my camera. I'll take care of it in a second. This side's a little more difficult because it's not as even to begin with. There's more indentations and stuff in the surface. Okay, that's pretty good. I need to get them on there, so let's change my gloves. kind of get one shot of this. You don't want to wiggle around once he's on there. Right about there. Okay. Probably should put some more on. We'll see. Alright, so now I need to let this dry. I'm looking at it now, and I probably should have put more on. But I'm at a point now where I can't do anything about it, so I gotta let this dry and then take them off and look at it. So I'll do that when I get back later tonight. Alright, so I took my son to go jump for a couple hours, and this is dry, so let's take this off, see what it looks like. My initial guess is that I didn't put enough on for this layer, so let's see what he looks like. And the saran wrap stuck to the Bondo, which I was not expecting. Let me put him off to the side here. So yeah, I need to probably sand this down again a little bit and do another thicker layer, because I really want his feet impressions in this. I have to figure out a different way to do it, because that saran wrap, I don't know. Gotta think here for a second what I want to do. Let me think a while, I'll come back. Okay, so we're on day 2 of the base. This is taking way longer than I'd hoped. So I was hoping to have the base basically putty, carved and everything yesterday. That didn't happen. I've spent so many hours just filling and sanding that I didn't get that far. And by the time I got home last night, it was too dark to go outside and sand. I'm in my spray booth because my whole house smelled like Bondo yesterday, and it was actually making everyone's eyes water. So hopefully, being in the spray booth, it'll prevent that from happening. So also, the last time I did this, where I bonded and put him down, there wasn't enough filler to actually kind of make a foot imprint. So what I'm going to do now is, and I actually didn't like the position of him. I wanted to move him back a little bit in the base and move him over this way just a hair. So I went out and sanded this down again. Again, this isn't perfectly level. There's a small indentation on each side. So hopefully it gives a sense of kind of him like sinking into this, what's going to be concrete. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just concentrate on one foot. I'm going to mix up some filler. I'm going to wrap his foot in saran wrap again. I'm going to put him down. And then I'm going to go around with him sitting there, and I'm actually kind of going to feather the filler out a little bit, because the parts that it did kind of work, you saw the outline of his toes, and that to me that doesn't make a whole lot of sense. It'd be more of just like a circle, not like an exact indentation. You know, concrete, you wouldn't see little individual toes. You'd see more of just a round pattern. So I'm going to do one foot, get that the way I like, and I'll take them off and do the other foot and do that. So I was really trying to get this done this weekend. I don't know if it's going to happen. I've got to spend today's Saturday. Tomorrow I have to spend the day taking down our Christmas decorations and getting that all put away. So yeah, this is taking me quite a while. So yeah, because I got to get cracking for 2018, and I still have a Gundam I've got to finish before June for a client that booked it almost a year ago. Oh, no, it was a year ago that I've been working on and all. So that's a big project. So I got to get him cracking, and he's been very patient with me and stuff. So anyway, so again, I got to wrap this foot in saran wrap. Now I did find out that the saran wrap actually sticks to the Bondo a little bit, which I was kind of surprised. But it's no biggie. As long as it doesn't stick to him, that's all that matters. So get this one foot wrapped. This tight working quarters in here. So again, this will be another long video. Last night's the night before was 2.5 hours. It's the longest video I've ever done. Good rule of thumb is basically even hours. A video I do is like an hour to an hour and a half. That's like represents like a full day's work on average. That's kind of how it seems to be working out by the time I edit it down a little bit. I don't do a whole lot of editing. I know a lot of guys on YouTube do all this fancy editing. I ain't got time for that shit. I basically film and upload what I got. If you want fancy graphics and shit like that, you have to watch someone else. I just try to provide information. Information. So I'm gonna double wrap his foot again like I did last night. This Saran Wrap did a great job of protecting his feet. I didn't get any filler on it. Come up from the bottom, like so. And let's put a piece around it like this, just to kind of keep that in place. Okay, so I'm going to put him on my little shelf over here. I think he'll fit. He's too tall. Oh, he just fits. Perfect. I've got a little shelf over here that I use for parts when I'm doing like Gundams. I've got 1,000 parts going. So I'm going to mix it up again. I've almost gone through this gallon I've gone through a half a gallon of this Bondo. This was up to here, now it's down to here. But that's a lot of filling and sanding and all that stuff, so. So again, I'm just going to concentrate on his left foot and get that kind of situated. That way I'm not trying to rush and get both feet the way I want. I'm hoping that the fumes stay within this room. Yesterday, I felt bad for my wife and my son. They're like, my eyes are watering. What's that smell? Oh, it's just the Bondo I've been using all day. See what I go through for you guys? Oh, my family's life's in danger. Just kidding. Alright, so these Bondo spreaders are already kind of... These were cheap Bondo spreaders. I got these at Harbor Freight. I can tell they're cheap because the Bondo doesn't come off real easily from them. It should, once the Bondo's dry, it should come right off, but it's not wanting to do that. So, all right. So again, same old, same old. Get some filler out. Some, I mean, quite a bit. And I'm just going to concentrate this in the middle where his foot goes, instead of trying to spread it out. So even though I've used a lot of filler, most of it's been sanded off, just through the process of filling and sanding and filling and sanding. Okay, so let's do this one. It's already got it going. Get another pair of gloves out. Wait. Once again, I do not want to handle him with Bondo hands. That would not be good. So more of the same, mixing Bondo. This video is all about mixing Bondo. I will be an expert in mixing Bondo by the time I'm done with this. Scrape that off, has some schmutz in it. So this is a new thing for me, customizing a base like this. So it's part of the reason it's taken me so long. It's just I'm kind of figuring it out as I go along. So a lot of my videos are me learning how to do something and kind of sharing that experience with people. And it means like I'll figure it out eventually. I was just hoping I'd figure it out sooner. I had anticipated a full day, one day to get the base ready for paint, and I'm like halfway there. So, and then the video I shot the previous night was having all sorts of errors on uploading. It took me all day to get it finally uploaded. So, okay, so this is mixed up pretty good. This isn't I didn't put a whole lot of hardener in it, so it's going to take a while to dry, but it'll give me a little more working time to get him where I want. And again, I'm just going to kind of concentrate this in the middle. I'm not really going to worry about spreading it out too much. Oh, I did paint the bottom of the feet last night black, so those are done now. Again, I'm just going to kind of do this. It's a big old blob for now. But we're going to put them in this, and then I'm going to kind of feather the Bondo out around his foot. So let me get some new gloves on so I can pick him up. Once I get his imprints the way I want, then I'll go in and I'll draw out those cracks I want to put in. And I'll use a Dremel and some other tools to get those into the surface. Hopefully that won't take a full day, but I don't know, man. This is taking quite a while. Okay, no Bondo on the hands. Make sure his foot's completely covered up. He is. I need to spread that out a little bit more. Bring it more this way a little bit. Double checking my hands all the time. Okay, there we go. So get that squish out like that. And now what I can do is I can come around and like it didn't come out around his toe a whole lot, so I'm going to come over here and build that up a little bit. And then what I can do, I'd rather have it too high to begin with, because I can always sand it down. And I kind of do this. There's a lot that came out on the side here and the back, so I can take some of that out, take some of that and put it towards the front. And now this kind of looks like a crater where he's stepped. So that's the initial effect I want to go for. That's starting to get the effect I want. That's what I was going to get done last night, was this right here. Well, this and the cracks. So I have to wait for this to cure completely before I move them. But just from this initial kind of like scraping this away, you're kind of getting the gist of what this should look like when it's kind of been I've gone in and put some cracks and stuff in. Yeah, there we go. Man, finally, it's starting to look like something. I get so excited when I do something that I've never done before and it actually starts to work. And this kit has been one of those kits, because everything I've done on this, except for like the eyes, is new. I mean, I've never done fingernails or toenails. I've never done a Hulk or green skin. So this whole project's been a huge learning experience, and it's been a lot of fun. So far, the only frustrating part has been the base. and just because I thought I'd have it done quicker. And the funny thing is that I used to paint cars for a living, so working with Bondo was like nothing to me, but doing like this kind of effect is new to me. So it's just, again, it's like learning, figuring it out, you know. Okay, so that looks really good actually. I got a nice little crater going. Yeah, that's gonna look good. So what I'll do is once this is completely dry, I'll take him off the base, and then I'll do the other foot. I won't touch this with as far as like sanding or anything. Because what I'll probably do is, again, I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. What I'll probably do is once I get both sides to look like this, I'll go in and start like making my cracks, and then from there I'll just probably like hand sand it a little, just knock it down a little bit by hand sanding, because I don't want to lose its effect of him like stepping in this stuff. That's the whole reason we did this. To make it look like he's stepping in concrete and it's kind of cracking around him. But you can kind of get the gist of what the effect is just by my spreader marks, you know. The cracks will be bigger, and I'll have them kind of, you know, fan out into smaller ones. But and the middle crack here kind of got filled in. I'll go take care of that after I get this taken care of. But this is where I was hoping to get this all done yesterday, and I didn't. So that's where we are now. I'll come back and do the other foot. Okay, so this is fully cured, and while that was drying, I finished up Little Hulk. So there he is. He looks pretty good. I like him. I actually got the purple matching pretty good too. I was kind of hoping I'd get close. It's pretty close. So Little Hulk is done. I'll just spray his base some primer black, and that'll be a nice clean way to present him. I still have to paint the little gecko. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. I guess the little gecko would go with like the desert scene that he was on before. So this is dry. So now I need to take him off. Let's see. It's going to be hard. You can be stuck on there pretty good. So let me get some gloves. And I'm going to repeat the other side. And then we'll do some cracking. And then I got to treat the edge still. Once I get this part done, the painting will go quick, I think. I say that, but all right, let's see. Doing pretty good. There we go. Let's just get him out of the way. Okay. That's perfect. Exactly what I was wanting to do. Okay. So now this foot imprint is done. And it looks really good, actually. It's not, I don't know if you guys can see that. It's perfect. So I'm going to leave this as is. And then I'll do my little cracking technique after I get this one done. So yeah, and this looks like a crater, like he stepped in. I'll sand it a little bit just to kind of feather it a little bit more and do some cracking. That'll look good. So let's do the other side. I'm real happy with how that turned out. That's what I was hoping I'd get last night. I just didn't use enough filler for it to squish out everywhere. Okay, so let's get this going over here. Same thing. And doing the Bondo in this room is perfect. There's no fumes out in the house. Having this room sealed and this fan going was a trick. I should have done that yesterday, but I wasn't thinking. It's a good thing I use cheap filler because this thing is almost gone. I use a lot of filler. But, you know, it's okay. I don't mind. Again, I'm going to get a lot more than I need. I'd rather have too much and have to sand it down than have to do this again. Actually, what I need to do first is I need to wrap his other foot before I do this. That way he's ready to go, ready to be placed in there. So, and I got to put on some new gloves. I'd like to buy gloves 2 boxes at a time at 100 each box. As I go through them quick. Put this over here for now. So later on, when Sonu needs to put him on the base, his feet will basically like lock into position. Yeah, they'll basically have a spot that they sit. So I'll make sure that get them in the right spot. Okay. Get some more saran wrap going here. Keep it rolling here. What this also will do is, since I've kind of sanded this whole thing down and been sanding and filling, they'll give his feet, both feet, a really flat place to sit right now. So like right now, his heel back here isn't touching anything. There's quite a bit of gap there. So this stuff will take care of that. So he'll have a solid, flat surface to stand on in the end. It'll take care of any indiscrepancies in the surface. I'm going to do this and wrap it up twice just to make sure he's got good protection. Make sure that he's locked into place over here on this side. That foot is protected. Put him back down. I'm just going to double check on the bottom, make sure it looks good. Yep. So I can put him down again. Very carefully. I'd love to weigh him. About my scale, he wouldn't fit on my scale that I have. I'd love to know how much he weighs. Same as last time, mix and Bondo. Way more than I need here, but that's okay. harder, just so hopefully it doesn't kick off sooner than I'm ready for. To work it fast. Same deal as last time. Put it on. Let it build up where his foot is. Really towards the back of the heel too a lot. That big old pancake of filler there. Switch out my gloves again. Check his foot. Make sure it's protected. First thing I gotta do is get this foot down and in place. Right there. Squeeze him down. Perfect. Okay. And then we'll do the same thing we did last time. I'll go around and kind of feather this out a little bit. More. I'm actually going to take some of this filler off. Got way too much, but that's okay. Alright, so now his feet have a place to lock into in the very end. Somebody was worried about, well, where's his feet going to go? I was like, well, in the imprints I'm making, right here. That's the whole point of this process right here, is to make craters for his feet. So this will definitely make this piece a one of a kind. I have not seen any other Maddox Hulks with a modified base. Hopefully it makes it a one of a kind in a good way. I think it will. Alright, so I think that looks pretty good. With that. My disc sander has been getting a workout for sure. That's starting to kick off, so I got to finish up spreading. You don't want to spread Bondo after it starts to kick off too much, and it just makes a mess. It doesn't smooth out. It creates more work in the end. Okay, so I'm going to leave that alone. I think that looks pretty good. A little bit more by his heel here. You know, I sand it down. I'm trying to get it right. There. Alright, so I'm going to call that done there. I'm going to let the Bondo just kicked off, so it's going to take it a while to dry. And then we'll take them off and see what it looks like. Be back in a little bit. Okay, well this is kicked off already, and it's already dry. This took about 20 minutes, this took about 5. So I can get some gloves on again, and I can pull them off. And we'll see what it looks like. And then start doing some cracking stuff. And I have to figure out how I'm going to handle the edge of the base, because we want to have a layer of concrete and a layer of dirt. This already kind of looks like dirt, but getting the concrete effect might be a little challenging. So it came out a lot easier with that one. Okay, sorry. So there we go. Imprints. So now he'll sit nice and flat there. That's where his feet go. I'm going to let this dry all the way, fully cure. And then I will knock this down a little bit with the disc sander. And then I'm going to draw some cracking patterns and figure out how to do that. Probably with a Dremel. Probably the easiest way to do it. So, but yeah, so this part of the process is done finally, the imprints. So the next thing I'm going to do is once this dries all the way, I'll draw some crack patterns, and I'll come back and show you that. So what I'm going to do in here is I'm going to start kind of like, I don't know, like drawing some crack, like where I want to, make some cracks. So just kind of randomness here. Nothing really, just kind of, if I don't like something, I can erase it using a pencil. I thought I could erase it, maybe not. Try to make them make sense. I figured like around the toes and the heels that they'd be the most. So I'm going to just do this on time lapse while I draw cracks.
Traveling, I saw through the night. Moon to the left of my eye. Long is the road as the future unfolds. This too shall pass by my way.
Okay, holy crap, that took a long time. It took almost 2 hours to go through and do this, or an hour and a half, but it looks really good. It looks really messy right now. But I started to draw lines, and I decided to just kind of freehand it. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go downstairs, and I'm going to hit this with the sander. I'm going to knock down these, this wouldn't be this high over here and here. I want to knock this down a little bit so it doesn't look so Bigfoot footprint-ish, if that makes sense. But I carry the cracks underneath the foot, concentrating more like on the heel and the toe where the weight would be. More cracks towards the front of the foot and towards the heel again where the weight would be. So I'm going to go sand this down, see what it looks like, and then I'm going to do the next one. And this one I won't record because this is the same thing. And then I'll kind of bring the cracks in the middle. I'm going to, even though I filled in this crack, original crack, I'm going to come back in here and make this a nice big kind of, like he stepped and the thing's cracking in the middle. So I'm going to sand this and come back. Okay, so I went ahead and sand that down, and I went ahead and sanded this side down also because as I kind of figured I'd lose some of the work I did. So I'm going to have to go back and just kind of redo some of the cracks, but now I can kind of see the effect I'm getting. It looks really good, I think. So I'm going to go back and restore some of these ones I lost from sanding, and then I'll do this side, and then the cracking part will be done. And then after that, I have to treat the edge of this, and I'll probably just go through the Dremel and just kind of smooth out using like one of these bits, and just smooth out, you know, about this much of the edge so it looks more like concrete, because this already looks kind of like dirt to me. But if I just kind of go through and smooth this out a little bit around the edge, I think that'll give a good delineation between concrete and dirt. So I'm not going to record doing this one because I did this one and it's like 2 hours of time lapse. So I'm just going to do this one, and then I'll come back when I'm all done with it. Okay, after about 3 hours, got the cracking effect done, and it looks really good. I just did a small little live broadcast a second ago, put the hook on there, and it looks really good. So there's more cracks on his right foot than there are on his left foot. Just his pose, his weight is leaning more towards his right side. So I concentrated kind of on the toes here and his right heel. So kind of same thing over here, concentrating on the toe and his heel, but there's fewer cracks. So you'll see that the cracks are kind of more concentrated going this direction just because of his stance leaning kind of back into his right. So now what I got to do next is, my thumb is going to have a huge blister on it when I'm done. I'm going to go around this edge with this wheel, and I'm not going to smooth it out completely. I'm just going to knock it down a little bit. So I'm going to work on that. Okay, so that didn't take as long as I thought it would. So I basically just went around, as you saw, and I just, as deep as this is, I just went around and kind of, I didn't smooth it out completely. I just kind of knocked down that texture that was already there. And now from the side, you have a profile. We got like concrete and dirt. And especially when it gets this painted, you'll definitely be able to see a difference. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to do one more thing to the edge. I'm going to get a different tool on here. And I'm just going to go in and kind of bang it up a little bit. It's a little too smooth. So I'm going to go in there and just kind of, you know, rough it up a little bit because it's kind of too pretty in my opinion. And then after that, I dare say it, this thing will be ready for a bath and primer. And holy shit, I'll actually be done with the prep part. Oh my gosh. 2 full days to get it to this point. So that's pretty exciting. The cracks look amazing. I think they look really good. I went down the middle here, like, you know, kind of like there was previously, and made a big one. So yeah, I'm just gonna go bang up the edges a little bit, and then we'll see where we are. All right, base is ready for primer. I'll shoot it. I'll come back and show you after primer. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get this guy primed. I'm going to prime him in black style res instead of gray. Because what I'm going to do after I'm done with that is after that dries, I'm going to texture the base a little bit because concrete isn't perfectly smooth. And that's a really easy technique to get the kind of look of concrete A lot of armor guys will use it on tanks and stuff to kind of get the look of potted metal, or kind of that that military metal look, whatever you want to call it. So we'll get it black and we'll get it primed in black styrene res, and then the next step will be the stippling of the next technique, which I'll show you after this is cured enough to do that. So again, another time lapse. Okay, that's all been primed, and you may ask, why didn't I use a rattle can on something this big? Well, basically, I was trying to get so I could get primer in the cracks. If I did a rattle can, I would have to put so much primer on this thing to try to get primer down in the cracks. It would be like ridiculous. So it took longer to do it this way. I love my Styrene Res primer. It's great stuff. So that's another reason. But the main reason was so I could get primer down into the cracks. So depending on what time it is, I got some obligations, family obligations tonight. I want this dry. I want this dry for about, I guess, about 40 minutes or so, maybe an hour, because I got quite a bit on here. For the next step, we'll be using a lacquer primer, and I don't want, it may pull some of this up in the next process. It's not that big of a deal if it does, but ideally I'd like to keep as much of this on here as possible. So I'll let this dry really, really good, and then we'll see what time it is, and if I can do the next step before I got to go, I will, but more than likely it'll be later tonight when I get home. Ideally, I can get this all ready for paint tomorrow. I do have family obligations tomorrow as well, but if I can get this in a state where all I have to do is paint it, I'll be in really good shape, where I could probably get it painted tomorrow night at some point. So yeah, it's been a long 2 days on this piece. I was hoping I'd have it done by now, but I started going down one direction, and it wasn't what I wanted or what I think Sonu wanted. So, it cost me a couple hours, but, it's part of the learning experience when you're doing stuff like this. Like, there's no instructions on how to do this. You just kind of have to figure it out. So, and sometimes it takes a while to figure it out. So sometimes I figure it out pretty quick. Other times it takes me a while. This time it took me a little longer than I thought. But I don't know if you can see in the camera, but all the work I did with the carving of the cracks and hitting that edge, it looks really freaking amazing. It is really, really good. It looks really good. Once this gets painted, it's going to look crazy awesome. So I'm excited to see it done. This is it. Everything else is done on Hulk. I got a few little touch-ups on the green on the big guy. I noticed when I was working on the other day. So I go with the airbrush and kind of touch up a few spots where I didn't quite get enough paint, but mainly like right around the edge of some of the toes. Because when he's standing, it's hard to get paint under him. So little touch-ups here and there, but once the base is painted, he's done. So yeah, I'm excited to get this done out the door so I can get to the next projects, which are Hellboys, which I've already started. But yeah, I mean, we're cranking, working on getting ready for the year, which is crazy busy for me. But next time I come back, we'll do the texturing technique, which is really simple and it's easy, it's fun to do, and it's nothing hard. So I'll see when we're ready for that. Okay, so the last step I'm going to do on this today is I'm going to texture the base. This has been drying for several hours now. And since this is supposed to look like concrete, the edge looks really good after the Dremel work and hitting the edge with that cutting tool. It looks really nice. But this is too smooth. So what I'm going to do, this is a really simple trick, is I'm going to take some Mr. Surfacer, if you know what that is, it's primer from Gunzy or Mr. Color, Mr. Hobby. And it comes in different, I guess, thicknesses or granulations, I guess is the word. 500 is like would be like have the most granules, and it goes all the way to like I think 1500 or not, like 2000 is like the finest. But what we're gonna do, I have a crappy brush here that I use for all sorts of stuff. It's basically gonna take this stuff. I'm gonna mix it up really good, and I'm just gonna stipple it on here so I can find my paint mixing tool. There it is. I do want to mix this up because all the solid stuff, all the stuff we want is at the bottom. You can see kind of how separated it is right now. I'll mix this up pretty good. Actually, I get my my handy dandy Badger paint stir, which is awesome, by the way. If you don't have one or two of these, you can get one. I have two because I accidentally got paint thinner on the handle once, and it melted the plastic together. I finally got it unstuck, but so I'm going to do this tonight, and then I'll try to get paint on tomorrow. I'm just going to mix this up pretty good. Just like that. Put that to the side. And it's pretty simple. I'm just going to take this brush. It's like this. I'm just going to start kind of doing this all over the top. And this will just give it a slight texture. And as it kind of dries, it gets a little more textury. So I just kind of work it. And then this won't get sanded, or I'll keep all the little imperfections and everything that I introduce into this. I want it to be a little kind of sporadic, so it doesn't have to be uniform. So I'm going to do this again on a time lapse, because this is another thing that will take me a while. And this isn't putting a whole lot of texture on; it's just giving me a little bit. And if I find that I want to do it again, I can let this dry and like do another layer, and it will give me another layer of texture. So I may do that. So we'll put this on time lapse, and I'll just keep at it. Okay, so this will do it for today. I just went through, I did the whole thing 2 times, and then it went back and just hit a few areas a third time, just to kind of maybe give a little more randomness. I'm not sure if it's showing up in camera, but it's got just a slight texture to it, and it's actually the perfect, like, to the scale, like to quarter scale. It's like the perfect amount of little, you can't really tell now, but once I start painting and putting washes and doing some dry brushing, that step that I just did will show up a little bit more. So now it's not like perfectly smooth. It's got a little, texture to it. I went down, just hit the edge just a little bit. This is kind of the beginnings of the concrete color. So it gives me a good base color to start from, and then it gives me just a little bit of a texture. Once this dries, I'll hit this with a flat coat. That way it'll take washes and dry brushing much better. But that's it for today. Full day's work, and I'm glad I got this. This is now ready, officially ready for paint. So, yeah, I'm glad I got this to the stage today. So hopefully after I'm done with what I have to get done tomorrow with my family and stuff, I can start putting paint on this guy. But yeah, looks good. I mean, I think once the paint's all done, the effect will be exactly what we're looking for. You can kind of see the cracks a little bit more. Now I got some primer on it. You really can't see the outline of his foot, but it's like right here. And this is like where his toes are and stuff. And then same thing over here. This indentation isn't as deep, but it's still kind of, it locks in perfectly with the back of his heel and right here. So it's really nice. He sits right in there. It looks really good. So this is another long video. And I have some better music for my video this time. It's actually music from a band I was in. Gosh, how long ago was that? 12 years ago? How old was I? 30? Like 30. I was younger than 30. So I got using my own music. I'm playing rhythm guitars on the songs. So hopefully it's a little bit better than this royalty-free stuff that we have. But there you go. Base is ready for paint finally after 2 long days. I probably put in 8 hours yesterday, and I started on this today at 10. Worked till 6. That's 8, and another 9 hours today. So, you know, I've got 18 hours into this already. I still have to paint it, which will probably take me another. I'm getting quicker at painting bases, but it'll probably take me another 2 or 3 hours just to paint it. But so when all said and done, it's going to be 22 hours worth of work or so to get this the way it is. So yeah, it'll be worth it in the end. But for everyone who's been watching my videos and commenting, I really appreciate it. I know some of them are really very long, and if they're too long, let me know. I'll try to break them up. But basically, I try to upload. If I work, you know, whatever I work on that day, I try to upload it that night so you can see the progress I made. Give you an idea of the amount of work that's going into things and the different steps I'm taking to do certain things. So, yeah, let me know if they're too long. If you like the long videos, let me know. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time when I start putting paint on this guy. Bye.